Today is November 21st. It's the 326th day of the year, and this is the On This Day podcast. Today is National Adoption Day here in the United States, observed on the Saturday before Thanksgiving every year. Thousands of adoptions of children from foster care will be finalized today to celebrate Adoption Day and to raise awareness about the joys of adoption. It's easier than you think to adopt a loving child. Congress streamlined the foster child adoption process in 1997. You don't have to be rich to adopt. You don't have to be married or live in a McMansion or be of a certain age or race. All you need is love. The words of John Lennon, who was raised by his Aunt Mimi and Uncle George. Singer and Grammy winner Faith Hill was adopted when she was 1 week old. Actor Ray Liotta also adopted, and who doesn't love Ray Liotta? Former NFL quarterback Dante Culpepper and Dave Thomas, founder of the Wendy's hamburger chain, both adopted. Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton, actress Frances McDormand, director Michael Bay, and Nelson Mandela adopted. Keegan-Michael Key, Kristen Chenoweth, Edgar Allan Poe, and billionaire Larry Ellison adopted. And Steve Jobs. My mom was adopted, and that worked out pretty well for me. So consider adoption on this National Adoption Day. And today is also World Hello Day, an unofficial observance to promote communication as a means to end conflict rather than force and violence. World Hello Day is started in 1973 in response to the Yom Kippur War by Brian and Michael McCormick, who send letters to over 1,000 world leaders asking them to support the new holiday. That first year, the day is observed in 15 countries. These days, the unofficial holiday is observed in 180 different countries around the world. And it's the simplest holiday to celebrate. All you need to do to take part is greet 10 people for peace. So say hello to 10 people you don't know today and have a happy World Hello Day. Hello. Bone fragments are discovered in a gravel pit in Piltdown, England in 1912. Fragments that appear to be part of a very, very, very old skull. Amateur paleontologist Charles Dawson presents the find at a meeting of the Geological Society of London. Dawson has been a member for many years, one of the youngest members ever admitted, and he's well known and well respected for his many spectacular and unique finds through the years. A cast iron Roman statuette in 1893, a hafted stone axe, and an ancient timber boat in 1895, and in 1912, the discovery of what comes to be acknowledged as the missing link between ape and man in the chain of human evolution, the bone fragment evidence of the Piltdown Man. The jaw and skull fragments look like a cross between an ape jaw and a human skull. Other fragments are found in 1913, and in 1915, more ape and human-like skull fragments are found a few miles away in Sheffield Park, confirming the authenticity of the Piltdown Man. But then Charles Dawson passes away in 1916, and no further evidence is discovered. There are some who are skeptical about Piltdown Man, but the proof found in 2 different locations is incontrovertible. That is until 41 years later, on this day in 1953, when Piltdown Man is revealed to be, quote, the biggest scientific hoax of the century, so says the London Star. In the early 1900s, Charles Dawson is, as he writes to a friend, quote, waiting for the big find which never seems to come along. And the bones he finds in Piltdown in East Sussex are definitely a big find. He hopes Piltdown Man will earn him a fellowship in the Royal Society and a knighthood, neither of which he receives. Dawson is a prominent member of the Sussex community, a solicitor, a generous benefactor, a well-respected antiquarian whom locals refer to as the Wizard of Sussex. But before Piltdown, the international acclaim he craves eludes him. Dawson is acquainted with local physician and author Arthur Conan Doyle. One day, they have a chat. What exactly Dawson and Doyle discuss, well, one can only imagine. However, the next day, Dawson conceives of the Piltdown Man hoax. In describing the significance of the find years later, the New York Times reports in 1953, quote, Sir Arthur Keith, famous British paleontologist, spent more than 5 years piecing together the fragments of what he called a remarkable discovery. He said the brain case was primitive in some respects, but in all its characteristics distinctly human. The Piltdown Man was named Eanthropus dawsoni, or Dawn Man, in honor of its discoverer, and paleontologists throughout the world handled it with reverence. Piltdown Man is considered a key milestone in human evolution, but it also poses some challenges when considered alongside other finds. When a fossil is discovered in South Africa in 1925, a skull believed to have belonged to one of the earliest human ancestors, it is viewed with suspicion because it doesn't fit in the chain of evolution with Piltdown Man. The South African find by Raymond Dart is rejected at the time in favor of Piltdown Man, which just happens to place the cradle of civilization in southern England. Years later, and after the Piltdown Man hoax is revealed on this day in 1953, Raymond Dart's discovery of what is now known as Australopithecus is proved correct. Though Piltdown Man is widely accepted as authentic in the early 20th century, scientists continued to examine the find and begin to find serious problems with it beginning in 1949. By 1953, an anthropologist at Oxford examines Piltdown Man's teeth and notices it looks like they've been filed down to give them a unique wear pattern. Intensive examination leads experts to determine that the Piltdown Man skull is actually just some old human and chimpanzee bones, stained with chemicals to make them match each other and the soil in which they're found. And I'm doing air quotes, found. The scientific community is shocked by the news, rattled and embarrassed. But why would Charles Dawson do such a thing? After such an illustrious career of significant finds, why would he tarnish his reputation and the reputations of others who authenticated his find? Surely Dawson wouldn't perpetrate a one-off deception such as this. Well, he didn't. It is subsequently determined that the unique hafted stone axe he discovers was unique because it was fake, as is the ancient timber boat, the Bexhill boat, also the cast-iron Roman statuette, a Mesolithic hammer, a perfectly preserved toad, shadow figures on the walls of Hastings Castle, ancient Roman tiles later determined to have been made in the same year Dawson claims to find them. 38 of Charles Dawson's significant paleoanthropological discoveries are found to be frauds, including Piltdown Man, revealed as a hoax on this day in 1953. There are 40 days left in the year. On This Day is produced by me, Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for listening. On this day in 1986, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a member of Ronald Reagan's National Security Council, begins shredding documents in his office. Documents that allegedly implicate him in the sale of weapons to Iran, the proceeds of which are channeled to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Evidence shredded shortly after news of what becomes known as the Iran-Contra scandal comes to light. We'll talk more about that soon. So if you're still listening, remember you gotta shred it twice to really get to make it, Anyway, talk to you tomorrow.